Hey, you know what's crazy though? Them dudes, bro, they moved crazy though. Like you watch the grainy footage of Bill Chamberlain.
I don't think
one thing I'll say is, bro, they might be more. They are more athletic than Dwight.
The biggest misconception we have is that this younger generation is more physical. I ain't gonna say more physical, but more skilled.
Peace and blessings, y'all. Welcome to GOAT James Kingdom. On this episode, we are going to discuss the evolution of basketball in the NBA and how it evolved to the game that it is today by the different rules and also the different skill sets and creativity of players throughout the decades. So let's let Kevin Garnett and Professor start off the conversation.
And the perception of what the shots that these young kids take today versus the older generation, how they was taught the game. It wasn't so gimmicky. It wasn't so tricky. It was just straight to it.
Couldn't even put your hand on the side of the ball.
Straight up.
Couldn't even put your hand on the side of the ball.
Straight up.
Couldn't even put your hand on the side of the ball.
Straight up. Yeah. But carrying came into it. Straight up. But carrying came into it. And it affected. Pistol Pete was unbelievable with the carry and just all of it. So with the evolution of the game, you got to put the carry in there just because of how you handling it.
Yeah.
And the pressure. If you are handling a hand check, everybody knows that if you handle a hand check, then you should let somebody carry because the hand check actually neutralizes all this. You know, just think about being able to control the ball.
The hand check is crazy.
The hand check is a whole.
That's a game changer.
It's a whole game changer. Yeah. But so is the carry.
It is though, game changer.
The game changing carry just AI came in and changed it. So.
Great points brought up by both of them. But basically what Kevin Garnett and Professor are talking about is how the different rules and the creativity of certain players evolved the game of basketball. If we take the game back to where it was in the beginning, you couldn't put your hand on the side of the ball. So actually creating plays by dribbling was a little bit more difficult. But throughout basketball history, the leagues have always changed rules to help the players develop more moves and become better fluent basketball players. So let's listen again and watch how Kevin Garnett breaks it down.
With the evolution of the game, you got to put the carry in there just because of how you handling it.
Yeah.
And the pressure. If you are handling a hand check, everybody knows that. If you handle a hand check, then you should let somebody carry because the hand check actually neutralizes all this. You know, just think about being able to control the ball.
The hand check is crazy.
The hand check is a whole.
That's a game changer.
It's a whole game changer. Yeah. But so is the carry.
It is though, game changer.
The game changing carry just AI came in and changed it. So I say all that to say. That the game has to evolve and it has to have an evolution to it. Or we're looking at the same 1950s, 1940s.
So yes, if you take a look at the 1940s and how they played basketball, you can see there was no hand checking, there was no carrying of the basketball. It was straight fluid, moving the ball, moving without the ball, setting screens, and trying to find the fastest way and the quickest way to get a basket up without a defender in your way. This is the traditional basketball that Kevin Garnett was talking about when he mentioned that they played the game the way they were taught without the gimmicks and the trickery. And if we go to the 50s, it was still the same. The ball movement, as you can see, was always the same. There is no hand checking. There is no physicality. It is straight athleticism and trying to find a way to get the ball into the basket without the defender helping you. We even get a three-pointer that counts as a two-pointer. So as you can see, they're moving the ball. They're trying to get to a spot before the defender can help them. There's no hand checking. There's no carrying. This is the basketball that Kevin Garnett was talking about and how the game had to evolve from this because obviously this is not great to watch. And then if we move further on in basketball's evolution, we get to the 60s, and this is the 66 finals. And as you can see, it's a similar style. There's just more athletes on the floor and a little bit more skilled players allowed to do a little bit more creativity. But again, the game was still played the same. You don't see the hand checking. You don't see the carrying. What we do see is more perimeter shots because there is a wider paint because of rule changes. So again, the game had to evolve from the 40s and the 50s in the 60s because of such rule changes. And basketball stayed like this until we started going into the 70s where we had better ball handlers and more flashy players because of the ABA. So guys like JoJo White, Nate Ultraball, Pistol Pete Maravich was changing the games. So they were allowed to carry the ball because of their creativity, but then defenders were allowed to hand check a little bit more. And if we look at the highlights here from the 1976 finals, you can see it's still similar to the 40s, 50s, and the 60s without the hand checking and without carrying of the ball. But again, the game had to evolve once they merged with the ABA and wanted to create a more flashy, more gimmicky type of style of basketball. They allowed for more hand checking and more carrying, which led to what we know as the 80s 80s and the 90s basketball. From there, we all know the different rule changes that eventually got us to the basketball that we see today, which is a lovely game because basketball is a fluid game and it will always stay fluid as long as these rules are applied.